Okay, here we go. So, if you don't know me, I'm Carrie Gatto, and I own Big Picture Properties, which is a team of Keller Williams Realty based in Cambridge. And basically, I like to help ordinary people and families who want to harness the power of real estate to achieve financial wellness and peace of mind. So whether that means buying a first home, a second home, buying a multifamily home, flipping a home, I'm here to answer all your questions. And I just really think that real estate is such an effective vehicle for building long-term financial security, peace of mind, and even independence. And it's a tool that all of us really have available to us. So why not make those decisions really build towards something, build towards a great, solid financial future for you and your family. And through my experience as a real estate agent, coach, and investor, my goal is to help you bring your vision to life. Some of you already know this, but I was formerly an independent filmmaker, and something I loved about that career was jumping into someone's vision and helping bring it to life. And I think I do the same thing in real estate too. I discover what your vision is and then help make it real. So, you know, like I said, when I work with clients, I like to help them think a little bit like an investor, because real estate is not only a home, it's also an investment vehicle. And I want to help see the bigger picture of their real estate transactions and how to leverage that and those choices in the best way possible to build their personal wealth over time. And the more abundance each of us has, the more we're able to overflow into the lives of others. And so it has that ripple effect, kind of like this fountain you see here of when we're doing well, we're able to help more and give more of our gifts to others. So that's why I'm so passionate about this topic. And right now, I think too many people are living paycheck to paycheck. So it doesn't have to be that way. And in my book, you can have it all with real estate. I talk about 3 fundamental real estate investing strategies, which are house hacks, flipping, and the BRRRR method. And in the last webinar, I covered house hacks and flips. And so in this one, we're going to dive deep into the BRRRR method. So BRRRR stands for Buy, Renovate, Rent, Refinance, and Repeat. And it's a little bit more sophisticated than house hacking or flipping, which is why I'm focusing the entire webinar on it today. It kind of takes the strategies of buying, holding, and flipping and meshes them together. However, unlike flipping, you keep the property for the long term, but by refinancing the property, you take out money to buy your next one. And in fact, the magic of this particular strategy is that if done really effectively, you could pull out more money than you put in, making your return on investment infinite. And because renovation is such a critical component of the process, I do have my contractor, Adam Hughes, on the line today to answer questions that you might have as we go through. So hi, Adam. Thank you for being here. And again, guys, you can unmute yourself if you want to say anything or if you have a question, or use the chat box. So feel free. So when you buy a house traditionally, you put a hefty down payment into it and then include money for the closing costs and the rehab. The total of this money invested makes up your investment basis. And then that is used to calculate your ROI, or return on investment. However, if you add value to the property by rehabbing, you can refinance once it's rehabbed and recover most or all of the money you have put in. Or, as I just mentioned, you could theoretically even pull out more money than you put in if you do it really well, growing your capital and your ability to invest in future properties. And that's where the repeat comes in. It's a cycle. So the first step, obviously, is buy. And what you would be looking for in the BRRRR strategy is a rental property, a multifamily that needs work. And ideally, you want to get it for about 10% under market value. Adam, this property might look familiar. We met when you renovated this 3-family that my clients purchased with a 203K renovation loan. So you might be wondering, how do I get a property, buy a property under market value? Well, there are a few different strategies. One would be to target stale listings that have been sitting on the market. So listings that have a high days on market, or DOM, and also those that are off market, for example, for sale by owners, or FSBOs as we call them. And both of these are generally overlooked by most buyers, so that means less competition for you. Or you could even buy during a recession. And most recessions on average last about 11 months, a year. And during that time, real estate is essentially on sale. Again, because most buyers, or less buyers, are buying. And spoiler alert, we're probably going to see a recession this year. Now, before you buy, it's definitely imperative to have an excellent contractor on your team, which again is why I have Adam on the call today. You want to be able to really gauge the cost of the work. And you're probably going to be looking at a few properties before you actually buy one. So it's important to have somebody that will give you free estimates, and it's reliable, and of course does excellent work. And over here, by the way, these are not Easter eggs. These are construction helmets. But unlike the Easter Bunny, good contractors do exist. And Adam is my go-to contractor, and I highly recommend him. He's a 3rd-generation company. He does everything from small repairs to gut renovations and new construction and everything in between. He gives free quotes, he's reliable, and he delivers excellent work. He also writes poetry, by the way, but that's for a different webinar. And of course, unless you're paying cash, you're also going to need a great lender or two in order to buy and then to do the refinance. Most of the time, the initial purchase will be a short-term loan. So it could be a hard money or private lender. Often these loans are interest only, but at a higher interest rate. You could also use the 203K renovation loan, which is an FHA product that allows you to roll the cost of the renovation into the loan. And however, because it is an FHA product, you only have access to that if you plan to live in the property. So you would have to be an owner occupant. If the property only needs cosmetics, then you could use a conventional loan and pay for the renovations out of pocket. However, if it is more like a gut rehab, then you're probably going to need cash or a hard money lender or a renovation loan. I can introduce you to a couple hard money lenders that I know if you like, and they usually charge between 8 and 12%. So like I said, it's a higher interest loan, but it's short term. It's only during that rehab phase until you refinance. And lastly, make sure you run your numbers and run them over and over again so you're not missing any expenses. And in a moment, I'm going to show you a super helpful calculator, which will help you determine your return on investment on a BRRRR property. And this brings us to the rehab phase. This, of course, you want to go as quickly as possible. So make sure you have a clear and concise plan going in and decide on finishes up front so your contractor can order and not have to wait for deliveries. The sooner you can get the renovations finished, the sooner you can start renting out and getting income, and then be able to refinance. Oh, Adam's saying hi to everyone. He's not sure if his mic is working correctly. Thanks, Adam. Okay. Yeah, I can't hear you, Adam. So I don't know. Have you tried pressing the icon on the mute on the toolbar to unmute yourself? If not, you could try that. But anyways, hi. Thanks again for being here. Okay. So like I was saying, you'll want to get the renovations finished in a very timely fashion so that you can go ahead and start renting and then refinance. So when choosing your finishes, keep in mind the local rental market. Consult your realtor, your property manager, and your contractor to get an idea of the most appropriate finishes and materials to get the most bang for your buck. Right, Adam? And I know Adam's an investor too, so he's very aware of like what's the most durable materials to use that won't, you won't need replacing a lot. And also maybe some things that you don't want to replace if it's something that it might be older, but it's still got a lot of life in it. So definitely consult your team on how best to maximize your dollar when you're doing your renovations. And don't over improve, because we're probably not looking to do like a luxury high-end type of renovation. We're probably doing more of a middle of the road, practical, but not super expensive finishes. And that brings us to rent. I always recommend using a property manager to help you rent and manage the property, who is very familiar with the local market. There are some really good ones out there, and they will help you screen all the tenant applications and rent your property the right way, and also take calls from tenants when they have issues, of course, because you're not investing in order to get yourself another job of managing a property. You're investing so you can have passive income. So they'll help you make it a truly passive investment. Also, always charge slightly below market rents. And this is huge because it will allow you to be really choosy when you're screening your tenants and get really high quality tenants. Also, you'll have less turnover and the tenants will take better care of your property. They won't want to leave because they know they have a sweet deal, and you take care of them, they take care of you. So really important to charge reasonable rent. Now it's time for more paperwork. You're going to refinance, and this time the loan will be a long-term fixed loan with a bank or a conventional lender. Banks typically want 80% loan to value ratio, meaning that if your property is worth $100,000, they'll lend you no more than $80,000 when you refinance. And on that, just check with your lender. I would recommend talking to your lender you plan to refinance with before you actually buy, because the mortgage market is changing in this current environment. So you want to just make sure that you have the right loan to value ratio, that you know what to expect when you do refinance. And of course, rates too are good to know ahead of time, whenever possible, though they change on a daily basis. The calculator I'm about to show you will help you determine the terms you want to ensure that you have a positive cash flow and pull out cash for the next purchase, which is of course the last R in the process, repeat. So before I pull out the calculator, I just wanted to stop for a moment and see if there were any questions thus far. Everyone getting this so far? Okay. All right, so I'm gonna step out of the slideshow really quick and this, and show you the calculator part. Okay, I thought I had it up, but it's okay, I have it bookmarked. This is a calculator that is on the BRRRR website, and I've talked about BRRRR before. Let's see. They are a great resource for anyone who's wanting to invest. And they also, I've recommended their podcast before. They have two. They have the financial independence podcast and also the real estate podcast. Any place you can get your podcast, you can definitely check that out. And excuse me for just a moment. Pull up the calculator. It might be. Okay, I think it's here. Yeah, it's right here. Okay. And so you do have to be a member of the website, of the BRRRR website, in order to have access to this calculator. I think it's about $30 or $40 a month. But as you'll see, it's pretty helpful. And if you do plan on doing a BRRRR property or even flipping, I think it would be well worth it to sign up. So I'm going to take you through the numbers on this property. Hold on. Zoom share. Oh, okay. I think I have to stop sharing and then share again. So let's see, to make sure you can see the calculator. Make sure you guys can see this. It's not the right one. Okay. Sorry guys, bear with me 1 second. It's not letting me share the other. Oh my goodness. Okay, 1 second. Technical difficulties. Let me see if I can plug it into this one here. Yeah, okay. All right, can you guys see this now? I think you can, right? You can see my screen? I have somebody in the chat, let's see. Yep, everyone can see. Okay, thank you guys. Perfect. So here we go. So we're gonna go through the numbers on, like I said, the 3-family that Adam and I shared clients on. It was a 3-family in Boston, and this was back in 2012. It was, the first thing you wanna do is put the address or the report title, which I just used the address, and then the property address here in the next field. And then they ask you for the annual property taxes. And by the way, these little question marks here, if you hover over them, they give you more information on how to fill out the field or how to get that information. So the annual property taxes you can find on public record, or you can call the town or city assessor's office and find that out. So this is the yearly taxes. You can put in an MLS number if it's an on-market property. You don't have to though. And you can put in a little sales description as well. Okay, and then next step. Okay, so here you're gonna put in your purchase price. And I did this a little differently, so let me explain why. So the property was actually listed for $349,000, and we negotiated it down to $320,000. So we actually got it exactly 10% below the asking. And the reason I have $440,000 in here is because their renovation loan allowed them to wrap the cost of the repairs into the loan. And the best way to do it using this calculator is just to add that to the purchase price, because it's going to be financed just like it was part of the purchase price, right? So their renovation budget was $120,000, and so $320,000 plus $120,000 equals $440,000. So that's why I have that number in the purchase price. And then they're going to need your after repair value, your best estimate. And it so happens with the 203K loan, they actually have a third-party appraiser come in and they tell you, they run the comps and they tell you what they believe the after repair value is, because they're lending on this amount. When you use that loan product, they're lending the money based on the after repair value. They need to know that it's going to get there after the repairs. So they have the third-party guy, appraiser guy, come in, and we found the after repair value would be $550. You can also, you know, if you're not using a 2 or 3K loan, of course, you're going to check with your realtor and look at the recent sales and determine what the after repair value will be. And again, you can hover over this too. There's a little primer if you want to use that. The purchase closing costs were $4,178,000. And here's where you put the estimated repair costs. Now, again, I left it blank because I've already wrapped the repair costs into the purchase price in this example. So that's why I left it blank here. And then moving on down. Oh, by the way, Adam, are you able to talk? Because I wondered if you wanted to give a little more information about the what they actually did. And if you're not able to talk, I can. Okay, try to unmute you. Okay, maybe. Allow to talk. Oh. Hello, are you?
Hello.
Hi, Adam. Sorry.
There we go. All right. I was going to say, yeah, there was no button to unmute. So, hello, everyone.
Oh, my bad. I think I might have not selected the right thing when I created the webinar. So, okay. Sorry about that.
That's quite okay. Yes, this, as Carrie was saying earlier, this building was purchased in 2012. There was a good amount of things that they did at the time. And with the what they did is, like she was saying, a 203K loan, and people are not familiar with that. Once again, it is wrapped in with your mortgage. They typically have, you can base it off of it, but you will also have a contingency fund, which is pretty much set up for extras. So if there's any unforeseen stuff, typically it's 10%, but you can do it at 5% or 15% as well. And that also shows to be wrapped up in your purchase price for your mortgage. But the stuff that they did, particularly over there, is we had a roof that was, I would say, 15 years old or so. It wasn't in a horrible condition, but there was definitely areas that were showing there were leaks. So we went in, we patched the roof in the area where the leak was caused, fixed everything on the inside as well. Came through, we redid kitchens and bathrooms, which is obviously a good money area for when you're trying to rent out or sell things. We finished the floors, and then afterwards as well, with their contingency fund, they wanted to be able to take care and take out all the lead out of the building. So we didn't de-lead it, but we mitigated that process. That's a separate license that you normally get with a contractor. And what that did is pretty much made it lead safe so that they're able to rent it to families that have kids and have the peace of mind for that. Pretty much almost any house that's before 1978 is more than likely has lead in it, even if you don't have a test in there. So they kind of, obviously in this area, most houses are built before then, so there's a good thing to go with that. And then after that was pretty much just dress up areas, so any walls that were damaged to be patched. It was all horsehair plaster, but we kept pretty much all the plaster on the walls, patched everything that needed to be patched, and painted everything. And from there, it looked nice and new and good quality for rent. Once again, it wasn't top of the line, but it was, I would say, builder's basic. But for what they're trying to do and who they're trying to rent to, it actually works out best for everybody, because you don't want to have, high quality stuff in there if you're going to be renting out for 15, 20 years. Yep, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to add too, I believe they use Mass Saves, the
Yep.
The loan or the credit program for new heating systems and insulation while you were doing some of that too. So they were
Yep.
really savvy to be able to tap into all the resources that they had available to them, like Mass Saves and the 203K loan as well.
Yes, they actually, they were able to do it from I believe they did some holes on the inside. It was plugged, and that's where we patched over as well. So it was kind of a team effort with the insulation. But yeah, for the heating systems, they went through Mass Save, and they were able to pretty much finance that right straight through them, which I know that Carrie has done that with even her house a couple different times. It's a good loan program that you can actually get through. It's a very low cost.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Thanks, Adam. I just wanted
problem.
to give everyone a little bit of an idea of what they did in real life. So going right along, the purchase loan details are the next piece of this puzzle, and they only put 5% down, and their loan rate interest rate was 4.5%. They actually did an ARM. So they had a lower interest rate in the beginning, and then it was variable after, I think, 2 years. But they knew going in that they were going to be refinancing because they wanted to get rid of the PMI. Having a low down payment meant that they had mortgage insurance. They knew they wanted to get rid of that. So, and using the BRRRR strategy, that's what you do. You refinance. So they used an ARM in the beginning. 4.5%. They did have a point charged by the lender, and then the other $900 covered the cost of the appraisal that I mentioned before. So they had that. They paid their loan fees and points out of pocket. It was not an interest-only loan. If you do like a hard money loan, a lot of times it is interest only, but this one was not. They included PMI, yes. And they did amortize it over 30 years. So they had the option of holding this loan for 30 years, even though they didn't choose to do that. It was amortized that way. They refinanced after 12 months, and the estimated rehab time was about 12 months. And that was probably a little more time than they needed, but they wanted to do it, make sure they had more time than they needed. Then the refinance loan details go in. So this number, if you're wondering where this comes from, so like I was saying before, the banks will lend typically 80% of the total value of the property, and their after repair value was $550. So 80% of $550 is $440. As it happened, the interest rates went down a little bit in the 12 months they held the property, and they got 4% on their refinance. They actually didn't have any closing costs or lender fees with the refinance. Sometimes lenders are able to do that. So they didn't have to pay anything out of pocket for the new loan. And it was not interest only. They had a regular conventional fixed loan at this point. There was no PMI, 20% down, and it was amortized over 30 years. And then for the cap rate, you don't necessarily need to know this, but for the area, decent cap rate is 10%. So I just put 10% in there. And then you go to the next step. And here's where we talk about the rents. What they did is they rented it out for $1,800 a unit. They were pretty decent size 3-bedroom units, newly renovated. So $1,800 was very reasonable. This is a very helpful tool here. If you don't know rents for the area, you can quickly check on Rentometer and get a pretty good ballpark from this website. It links to a different website called Rentometer. You plug in the size of the unit and the area, and it pulls up the average and also the median rents for the area. They didn't have any other monthly income in this scenario. Sometimes there might be a garage or a parking spot or a shed or something that could be rented out, but nothing like that in this instance. And then you want to put in all your expenses, any utilities, insurance, property taxes, PMI. And for this particular property, the landlord only paid water and sewer. The tenants paid all the other expenses. And of course, there's insurance and property taxes. And then you can put anything else in here, like if you have landscaping or snow removal that you plan to do, it can go in the other monthly expenses. And then here's the part where a lot of people forget to include these expenses, the variable landlord paid expenses. For example, vacancy, 5%. And that's just in case, like, you know, you have vacancies. You want to make sure you factor that possibility in there, because it could and will happen when you have 3 units. And up here too, it'll give you a little more information. You know, the vacancy rate is the cost of the property sitting empty due to tenant turnover. And it says to consult your property manager about what the typical rate is for the area. And then repairs and maintenance, they advise putting in 5 to 15%. And in this case, because it was newly renovated, we kept it low at 5%. And then capital expenditures, this is more for like big, like roof, you know, heating systems, plumbing, like big expenditures that might happen. So putting 5% aside each month for that. Again, it's newly renovated, so it shouldn't need anything huge, but still want to keep building up the fund just in case. And then management fees, they typically run like 6 to 10%. So we put 10% in just to make sure that's covered. And that's it. You can put in future assumptions, but you don't have to. It's just so you can better predict kind of what will happen in the end result. But we didn't put those in. So we're just going to calculate results. And then it brings you to this lovely spreadsheet showing you what your investment looks like in the rehab period, and then the initial rental period, and then after you refinance. And so you want to be aware that you have holding costs during the rehab period, right, before you're actually renting out, and what that looks like. And then in the initial rental period, you start getting the income in, but you also have these expenses. So the monthly cash flow looks like this, and the ROI looks like this. 50% is not bad, but then look what happens to the ROI after you refinance. Your cash flow goes up a little bit, but also your ROI goes up a lot. And the reason for this is because when you refinance, if you look down here, your new loan is $440. So you're paying off the old loan of $418, and you're pulling out $22,000 in cash, which is the difference between the loans. And that means they got their down payment back. Their down payment was $22,000. They got it back. Now they still had some cash in the property because they had closing costs and stuff like that. But what it means is that your ROI is huge. So it's interesting to see how those numbers do affect your ROI. And that's why the BRRRR method is so, so powerful, because of the fact that when you refinance, after you've added value to the property, you're able to get money back out of it. And then again, you take that into your next property, your next deal. So let's see, before we run out of time, I want to see if I can unmute you guys. So I'm going to unmute you and just see if anyone has any questions. Okay, you guys should be unmuted.
I just want to say thank you, Carrie, for actually showing. This is the first time I'm actually seeing this calculator as well, and it kind of breaks it down pretty easily on there. So something that is definitely worth it, I think, especially if you're making an investment. You want to be able to see and plan and hopefully get to where you need to be.
Great, thank you so much, Adam. Yeah, I appreciate that. It's definitely, like I said, a little bit more of a sophisticated strategy, but it really is so powerful. And if you have, a good grasp on the expenses and what to expect going in, and you do crunch your numbers really well, it's absolutely doable. And again, this is I didn't plan it this way, obviously, but we're kind of in a timely situation where we might be going into a recession, and it might be a good thing to start looking at. So, let's see. I'm going to, like I said, be sending this out to you guys. And I'm happy to share the link to the calculator if you guys want to play around with that. You do have to sign up for Bigger Pockets, but at least if you replay the webinar, you can look at what expenses are included and you should think about. So lastly, I just wanted to thank you for joining me, and I hope you got some value today. And if you do want to discuss anything in more detail, you can reply back to the email that I send you later and let me know how I can help you navigate today's market. If you want to set up a time, we can do a Zoom call. And join me next time. We do wealth building webinars every second Wednesday of the month. So feel free to join me next time, and we'll learn more together about how to get to that financial independence. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I have my toddler trying to break into my home office right now. So I'm going to sign off, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Bye, guys.
Thank you, Carrie. Have a great day.
Thanks, Adam. You too. Bye.